Welcome back to my series on pivot tables and using them to create a better gradebook. The main focus of today is going to be to show you how to track the number of attempts and record that information in student progress reports. I've changed up our starting point just a little bit. I've unified it by, I've changed the objective names to add, subtract. We'll be adding the multiply and divide as we go forward. I've changed the names of the tabs to better reflect what I'm referring to. And I will be making, and I also have a similar progress report that I will be sharing all of these files so that you can use them as your own starting point if you like. All right, let's start by adding in another standard or another objective. Control semicolon, it gives me the current date. We're going to be talking about division. Oh no, we should be doing multiplication first. So multiply. This one didn't go so well, so I'll be giving everybody zeros just so I can highlight the difference between their score on a standard or an objective and the number of attempts that they've had. It's version 1, it was in class, and if I highlight everything and go down, Control D will fill all that information down. Now when I go over to the gradebook, you'll see that I still only have two standards, add and subtract. So something I think I forgot in previous videos was you need to go to Data and click Refresh All. I think if you save and reload, all the information gets transferred over. Just be aware if you're sending out progress reports to hit Refresh All before you do anything else. All right, so you can see then that we have, these are a little bit out of order. If I want to reorder them, I can go into more sort options and do manual. And that allows me to click and drag that over. So I have add, subtract, multiply. Currently everybody's score is a 0, but I don't have any way right now without going back to the ledger of knowing how many attempts everyone has had. So I'm going to show you how you can add that information in and how to track that in the progress report. So what I want to do is I don't want to just, so right now what we're seeing in these cells is the sum of all of the students' attempts. That's how red has a 2 in add because red has earned 2 ones by passing that standard twice. And all the ones come from a person who has, or a student who has passed a particular objective once, and the zeros come from students who have not yet passed an objective, but you don't know how many times. Well, what I want to do is I want to add this score as another value. Things are going to get a little bit crazy for a bit, and then we're going to simplify it. And I'm going to first click or right-click the sum of score 2 and change the value field settings. And instead of adding up all the values, I just want to count how many times that standard has appeared in the ledger for that student, because that would represent the number of attempts. So I'm going to say custom name attempts. So now I can see that blue has taken the addition standard or addition objective once and passed it 1 time out of 2. Green has passed it 1 time out of 1. Red's 2 for 2. Yellow's 1 for 1. If I go over to multiply, everyone has attempted it once, but no one has passed it yet. And I actually prefer to switch the value of these columns so that it's not grouped score attempts, score attempts, score attempts. I prefer to be all of the scores in one area and then all of the attempts in another area. But you can sort that however you find most helpful to you. The next step is to take this information, so I went ahead and saved it, and I want to go over to my merge document. Let me reopen it. Sometimes it'll ask you to resync it. If it ever gets out of sync, you just go to mailings, select recipients, use an existing list, find the file on your computer, and of course we've got that merge data. Except I think that we need to go back. Oh. Okay, so I've connected my merge document to my original spreadsheet. Now I want to add in the extra information. For example, I should be having a multiply score down here, and I'm going to organize all this information into a table to just make it a little bit nicer. So let's get our table set up. Insert table. I just have do this. So this will be the objective, the score, and the number of attempts. And our objectives are add, subtract, and multiply. And I can get rid of all this information, and we'll have a nicer way of displaying everything. Let's give that a little bit of a bold, fix my spelling. Okay, now I want to insert the merge fields, and as I click here, I actually have a problem because these are not fields that I recognize. This indicates to me that maybe I'm using the wrong list. The next step is to show how to get this information with the number of attempts now onto a student progress report. We have to do a few things before getting to that point. The first is to remember that in order for the mail merge to see all of the correct fields, you need to update the merge data. We defined this in a previous video where this is the data that gets sent over to Word, and right now it is all out of whack. It is the first row is not actually the first row that we want, it's not covering all the information. That's okay if we go into Name Manager and we click Edit. Simplest thing to do here is to just delete this and highlight what you want it to be. So if I go over to that and click OK, now if I were to go over to click on Merge Data, we are getting exactly the information that we want. Okay. Now we are ready to take this information over to our mail merge file. Sometimes when you open your mail merge file, it will ask you to specify the data source. Just remember, you can always fix that if it gets out of sync by going to Select Recipients, use an existing list, find the file, and then click on Merge Data. Now that we're getting some more information, now we have a multiply score in here, I want to organize this as a table. So let me insert a table. We want 3 columns and 4 rows because our header row will be specifying the objective, the score, and then the number of attempts. Our objectives are add, subtract, multiply. And if I go over to mailings, I can insert the different fields. Now you'll notice that I have first, last, email, well that's normal. Then I have add, subtract, multiply, add 1, subtract 1, and multiply 1. Now what's going on there is that when I look at these headings, I see some repetition. The first add, subtract, multiply corresponds to the score. The second add, subtract, multiply corresponds to the attempts. So that's something to keep in mind as I'm filling in my different fields. For score, I'm going to put in add, subtract, and multiply, but the number of attempts will be the fields that have the 1 at the end. Add 1, subtract 1, multiply 1. And there's no field for grand total anymore. I have this F10 and F11. F10 would be the sum of the scores, and then total attempts if you wanted that. I don't think this is a useful stat to include, but total attempts, you could include that as that last field, F11. These are going to be the same, they will appear in this list in the same order that they appear across that first row in Excel. Now let's go ahead and preview the results to make sure everything is as we expected. So for blue, 1 pass out of 2 attempts, and then 1 attempt for each of the other 2 standards, no passes. And this is going to give you just a better idea of how a student's doing on a particular standard. If I have a student that has tried something 3 times and hasn't passed it, that gives me an idea that maybe they're not ready for attempting it a 4th time. Actually, I'd probably intervene before that. But if a student has only taken it 1 time and hasn't passed, okay, take the next attempt right away. All right, that's it for this video. In other videos, we're going to be looking at how to use things other than just a binary 0-1 score system.